The routine of morning television becomes a reality show of tragedy.
I cannot tell you how much they were loved.
A reflection on two young lives as we learn more about the man who took them. And we start with those tributes that have been pouring in all day for two journalists shot and killed on live television.
It happened this morning in Moneta in southwestern Virginia. A third victim is in the hospital tonight in stable condition. Alison Parker and Adam Ward worked for WDBJ-7 in Roanoke. They were at Smith Mountain Lake interviewing a woman from the Chamber of Commerce.
That's when the suspected gunman, Vester Flanagan, opened fire, killing Parker and Ward. Vicki Gardner, who was being interviewed at the time, was also shot and remains in the hospital tonight.
We learned Vester Flanagan worked as a reporter at WDBJ-7 for a year on air as Bryce Williams. The station fired him in 2013. The general manager said there were many incidents involving his anger. State police caught up to him in Fauquier County, nearly 200 miles from the shooting scene. Along the way, he used social media to send out videos he recorded of the shooting. He crashed his car along Interstate 66. State police say he shot himself during the drive and he died at a hospital in Fairfax County. We have team coverage tonight. 10 on your side's Liz Palka is in the newsroom with the latest developments.
We're going to start things off with Deanna LeBlanc, who is in Roanoke.
Everyone tonight, and it's so clear.
Yeah, Tom and Nicole, all night the memorial behind me has been growing. Just about an hour ago, I tweeted some photos of a man who dropped off this large flower arrangement behind me. He personally handed it to the general manager of the station, and after the general manager walked away, that man dropped to his knees. He cried, he prayed here at the memorial, and that is how raw the emotions are here tonight. Now, I also did speak personally with the general manager of the station here, and he shed some light into Flanagan, the suspect who so many are now describing as a disgruntled employee. As this memorial, an outward display of community support for WDBJ, continues to grow, inside the building, a television station is in mourning, but through their grief continue to report on the deaths of their colleagues.
I was very proud to be a member of that team. They told stories, they shared some anecdotes, and said some prayers, and we went back to work.
Station General Manager Jeff Marks remembers Parker as an avid dancer and Ward as a teammate on the softball team and at the station.
We're so excited. We're so excited about being out there on the diamond, or being there trying to make Allison look good in the morning, or coming back to work after a shift was over because news was breaking. He did all of those things.
But his memories of former employee and shooter Vester Flanagan II are much different. Flanagan was fired 2 years ago. He refused to leave, according to Marks, and police had to be called.
He was fired because his work was not up to standard. He was not excelling as a reporter, and people weren't enjoying working with him. And the combination of those two, we didn't need him.
Flanagan filed EEOC complaints citing racism in the workplace, according to Marks.
It is what it is. He made various claims of mistreatment, racial slurs, and things like that. We've thoroughly checked them. There was just no substance behind any of them.
Mark says he hasn't had contact with Flanagan in the years since the firing, but stopped short of labeling him as disgruntled, as he's been referred to so much in the media.
I'm not focused on him and what was going through his mind today. I couldn't care less. What I care about is that we lost two great people, and I've got a building full of people who are mourning.
And as much as we've learned throughout the day, we still do not know Flanagan's true motive. Now, it was asked today at a press conference with the Franklin County Sheriff if Parker and Ward were Flanagan's intended specific targets, or if they were simply representing a television station with which he had problems. Now, that is still unclear at this hour, but we are still here in Roanoke. We will continue to gather the latest information for you. We'll have more information on WAVY.com and throughout the day tomorrow. Live in Roanoke, I'm Deanna LeBlanc. 10 on your side.
Today, we also learned ABC News received a 23-page fax from a man claiming to be Bryce Williams almost 2 hours after the shooting. It talked about racism, mass shootings, work, and family issues. Flanagan's family asked for privacy, but released a statement tonight. It reads in part, "It is with heavy hearts and deep sadness that we express our deepest condolences to the families of Alison Parker and Adam Ward. We are also praying for the recovery of Vicki Gardner." Well, today we learned a lot about three people who became the targets of rage. Alison Parker grew up in Virginia. She went to JMU. This was her second full-time job as a reporter.
Her biography online says she enjoyed kayaking, musicals, and watching Jeopardy! And she just turned 24.
Adam Ward was a Southwest Virginia native who graduated from Virginia Tech. He was engaged to the morning producer at the station who was actually working in the control room when the shooting happened. A station spokesperson said Ward was their go-to guy who had worked there for 4 years. He was 27 years old.
And Vicky Gardner was also shot. She remains in stable condition tonight. She works for the Smith Mountain Lake Chamber of Commerce. The TV crew was interviewing her about the area's 50th anniversary. She is 61 years old. Continuing our team coverage now, 10 on your side's Liz Palka is in the WAVY newsroom tonight.
And Liz, you've been monitoring the news feeds for the latest on this story and those directly affected.
Nicole and Tom, we've been following all developments out of Roanoke closely. It's hard not to when the story hits so close to home. And if anyone can tell this story, it's the people working at WDBJ 7.
These are pictures from the first 6 months of our relationship.
A heartbroken Chris Hurst, a WDBJ anchor and Alison Parker's boyfriend, shares about his last moments with her. The two had been together 9 months. They had just moved in together.
I had a habit of always wanting her to text me when she got to work safely, and she did so, and the last thing that she said to me was, "Good night, sweet boy."
Her last words to her adoring boyfriend and coworker before the tragedy, before she and Adam Ward were shot and killed by a former coworker.
And the next thing I knew, I wake up to phone calls from the station a little after 7 o'clock telling me that there had been a shooting that happened live on television and that I needed to come to the station.
Whether on purpose or by chance, Ward's last act was catching an image of his killer on camera, an image morning anchor Kimberly McBroom and her colleagues would look at in disbelief, remembering when Vester Flanagan was fired from the station 2 years ago. Flanagan also went by the name Bryce Williams.
Once we saw the freeze frame from Adam's camera, but we're looking at, we're like, man, that looks like Bryce. Sure does look like him. You know, and just from his history, from what he had said during that time.
Did it surprise you?
Not totally, no, not totally. If it had been a complete stranger, that would have surprised me a lot more.
Parker's family did release a statement to Entertainment Tonight saying this is senseless and our family is crushed. According to WDBJ, Adam Ward's family is not ready to make any public remarks. I'm Liz Palka, 10 on your side.
We contacted a local counselor to help put today's tragedy into perspective.
And Gary Rothfuss of Fairfield Psychological Associates talked to us about workplace violence.
This kind of tragedy is the most difficult for most people to process, let alone anyone who's in close proximity who worked with the individual. I think we need to be aware and support people who we notice that are becoming more isolated or are acting irrational, maybe seeing or describing events in a way that doesn't make sense to others. We need to encourage people like that to get some help. Whatever happened here probably could not have been prevented and probably could not have been foreseen.
And whether working in the public eye or not, Rothfuss said the healthiest thing you can do after a tragedy like this is to talk to someone about it.
Our coverage of the TV news crew shooting continues on WAVY.com. We have pictures, social media posts, video of the police chase, and more on how friends and colleagues are remembering the victims.
And tomorrow, tune in the WAVY News 10 today beginning at 4:30 in the morning. 10 on your side's Aaron Kelly will be in Roanoke with live reports and the latest information on the shooting investigation. Again, we start early at 4:30 a.m. and at 7 o'clock, our coverage shifts over to Fox 43 until 9 a.m.